Hey guys, good morning. Oh, look at my collar, I'm all disheveled. Hey, welcome to an episode of Cooking with the Frisbees at Little Acorn Farm. So it's August 5th, and I never do this. I'm Keith. And it is August 5th in the morning, and it's a beautiful morning, and we're heading on down to the Little Acorn Farm to see just what's happening. So come on guys, come take a walk. Okay, so as you can see, things are happening down here. I mean, here's what's going on. This is a cucumber plant, and I know you guys are probably looking at it thinking that it's sickly, but it is and it isn't. I think there's two things that are going on here. Number one, it's just getting too hot. We had a stretch of 95 to 100 degree weather, and it was just too much for the cucumbers. So what we're finding, and we're starting to make notes on all this stuff, that the cucumbers really come alive June, July. Then you start getting the end of July and August when it's super hot here in north central Georgia, and it's just too much for them. The other piece of it is, number two, is we have been planting cucumbers in this same spot for probably about 6 years, and I think it's time to really change it. So I'm going to build some beds on the other side in the fall that are going to be amended very well with all the compost that we've been producing, and I think that's really going to help because we're stripping too many of the nutrients out of the soil. So, but as you can see, when you look at the herb garden just keeps going strong. So we're happy about that. Let's head on down the stairs. I always go the same way, so well, let's go over and see what's going on with zucchini and squash. So, zucchini and squash. We came back one weekend from the lake. We thought it was the heat that our squash and zucchinis were wilting, and that's not what it was. We looked at the stems, and they looked like the stems of the plant were kind of rotting out. Let me see if I can zoom down in here and show you guys. So this is what we started seeing. And what we found out when we did some research, there is a varmint, let's call it a varmint, that's called a borer, spelled B-O-R-E-R. And they bore into the stems of these plants and basically just kill them. So you can see the white powder that's on this is 7 dust. And we're trying to use this to contain it. You can see we've cleaned out the beds. If you've watched any of our other videos, you know that this was a lot more full of a bed. But look at the things that we've done, and Beth really went in, and she went in there with a knife and cut them out. And that's the only way that you can do it. So we've still got some survivors. We have harvested a couple of zucchinis. I think we have some squash over here. Let's see. Bentley always comes down. They love to help weed, but that's not the yeah. So you can see they're starting to make a little bit of a comeback, and even though we're getting to the end of the season on this, and Beth is putting the 7 dust on to try and salvage even more, we're going to try and get as much as we can out of here. Did I explain that right, honey?
Yep.
I did. Okay.
Because they are coming back. You can see there's new growth. So I think we were able to kill the ones that had really damaged the stalks, but we're salvaging some of it. So I'm hoping that by continuing the use of the 7 dust on the new growth, that it'll allow us to harvest at least a couple of more.
Okay. I mean, we got a lot out of here, so we're not disappointed. It's just, I guess that's just gardening. Thanks for helping out there, Bentley, but you probably shouldn't be eating out of that bed. And then our long beans. So our long beans, we thought, had reached the end of their cycle. And if you take a look at this, you can see that the ambrosia melons have just really taken over this trellis. Oh, we found a long bean on the ground. There's probably a squirrel came in here because we're finding that some of our fruit is being eaten. I think we probably just caught him off guard. He dropped it and ran like a thief in the night. But here, we were really excited. I know that you guys have seen the episode on our ambrosia melon. We have now harvested 2 more. And you can see that there are more. God, there are more on the vine. Every time I look, I see even more. Now they had started slowing down producing fruit, and then the little buds that were coming were yellow. So we were pulling them off, and what we figure on that is that the energy was going into the large fruit that was on the vine. As we start to pull those away, we're starting to see some more fruit start to bear. So we're not sure how long this goes into the season, but we're going to keep going. And you can see our long beans. You see the pretty flowers. Those are all going to be long beans. So we're hopeful. And then our purple beans down here, we've continued to harvest some of these, but their time is just about out, and their time was really out probably mid-July as it starts to get too hot. So again, you can see this little fruit that's down there on the ground. Let me zoom in. So it's still producing. I think you're going to hear Bentley bark in a minute. Yeah, their little friend came outside. And then the tomatoes. So
All right, guys.
the tomatoes have continued to produce. The big boys have gotten extremely large, as you can see here. I'm just going to keep panning up. This trellis is probably about 6'8", and I'm going to the top of this plant here. This plant is probably 7 feet tall, I would say. And there's lots of fruit, and we've harvested fruit. What we have done for a lot of this is harvested when it first starts to blush. Because we find that, guess what? We're not the only ones looking for ripe fruit. Little critters that keep getting under the fence, the rabbits and the squirrels, they're looking for ripe fruit. And as soon as we would leave it on the vine to ripen, and those little guys would come in and just eat on it. Wow, look at the Roma tomatoes.
Yeah, I need to pull some of those for sure.
Cherry tomatoes, I couldn't be happier. And the funny thing about this is we never get to use these in salads. And you want to know why? Because we walk by, they're in a bowl. They never make it to the salad. Because it's like a bowl and you walk by, and what a nutritious, sweet, lovely snack, right? So Beth is tending to the Roma tomatoes, but honey, why don't you tell them what's going on with our Roma tomatoes?
So the Roma tomatoes have what's called black spot.
Of course, none of the ones you're holding have it.
No, they don't. It develops as they ripen, so you only get to use a portion of the Roma, which is frustrating because I really wanted to use these to make sauce with, to save some sauce for later in the year. But I can use about half of it. And I don't really see these blemishes, I'm telling you.
Well, it's just like you take your car to the car dealership and you go to show an example.
So
Let's
there's
see.
one.
Here, I'll zoom in on that.
So that tiny little spot right there will develop into a big black spot, and then you just have to cut that area out and use the rest of it.
So are we done with Romas, you think? Or are we going to try and grow them again next year?
So I think I will probably try 1 or 2 next year.
Yeah.
And see if we can't. So we've learned a couple of things, right? So we know that we have to use a pesticide on squash in order to keep the borers away, which initially I wanted to not have to use pesticides. We know that we have to really amend this soil for the cucumbers before you plant them. Bentley, that's poison.
Bentley, he's so curious that he'll end up poisoning himself because he's curious about the 7 dust that Beth just put down on these plants. And he wants to know what it is. Like all little kids, what do? We put it in our mouth.
Right.
Oh, that'll kill me. Sorry. Wow, look at those.
I know.
Oh my God, I want one.
So good.
I know they are, aren't they? Oh, I see one. I see one that's got my name on it.
Oh, yeah?
It's right here. It's right here. Nope, that's not it. It's the one above it. It's hard to work the camera and pick it, but oh my God.
It's so big.
It is, isn't it? Like, look how tall it is. Beth has to step up there. But we're going to let it keep going. And then I'm going to go to the back beds where there's a lot of good things going on back here. These are your zinnias, huh?
No, those are cosmos.
So these are Beth's cosmos, and you can see what happened. Again, we learn They got so big and so heavy they just tipped over. And we tried to stake them up, but look at this. This is the funny thing that's happening. So now we let them lay on top of the little firewood pile that we have here, and they're still continuing to thrive and grow up. So here's what I'll tell you guys. Nothing's perfect in your garden. Don't try and get it perfect. It's going to be what it's going to be. And the plants will try and survive. They will. Here's our strawberry plants. They're continuing to vine and grow, but strawberry season. Do we get any more strawberries?
They should come back again when it cools off.
Okay. And then eggplant. It's so funny. We used to come down here and look at our poor little eggplant bushes, I guess you would call them, and go, we're not getting any. And now we're getting too many. And I guess you can't say too many, but we're gonna have to start giving some away. Then we'll go over to our peppers, but we've had to use 7 dust because we've come down here, and as our peppers start to mature, the little critters are coming in here and they're eating them. So that's that white powder that you see all over it, and unfortunately that's what we have to do in order to maintain our crop. And then the jalapenos, lots of jalapenos and sevillanos and
Serranos. And
these are serranos, sevillanos, like you can just see. Let me zoom in here and you can see. There's just...
Oh, there's a red one.
Oh, there's a red one. Beth found a red one. Good for us.
Serrano.
Let's see. So they turn red on the vine. And then these peppers are, what peppers are these, hon?
The jalapenos are in the front.
Yeah.
Then poblanos.
Poblano.
That's a poblano.
That's a poblano.
And then the serrano behind it.
Or the serrano are just really...
And these are based on Scoville. So jalapeno is the least spicy, then poblano, and then serrano.
All this information. We actually had to put the tarp up in the greenhouse because we were coming out here in the morning in the greenhouse. It was 120 degrees in there. Let's see what the temperature is. It's a really gorgeous morning. Oh, temperature in the greenhouse is about 85 right now. I think that's 85. Yeah, 85, 90. It's almost time for us to take the compost out of this bin and dump it in the right compost pile. These have really started to break down, and you can see all the, when we have eaten fruit and things of that nature, we pull them off and we throw them in here. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to start to get what they call volunteers next year when we start to utilize that compost. We'll probably have ambrosia melons and things like that growing up. The rose bush, it's at the point now I think I need a ladder. It's really done a great job of coming over this trellis, and this is year 1, and I think what I'm going to do is year 2 I'm going to end up building another pot on this side so that it would grow up and over. And there's my lovely little animals. What are you guys doing, huh? What are you doing, Bella? The peppers that we put in here with the roses, let's see how they're doing. Oh, they're doing great. Look at all of these peppers in here. And this was just an idea that I had, like, let's just, hey, we got some extra plants, let's stick them in here. And it's done really good. I think what I've got to do is I need to put, I don't have irrigation in there, so I always have to drag a hose down there, but I'm gonna put irrigation in here next year. And then we turn around. Let's show you again, the herb farm. Got the basil doing well. Like I said, cucumbers are, fall is on the way. Our favorite time of year. We've got to start planting our winter garden. Which, what are we doing for winter garden, hon?
Kale, I think broccoli, spinach. I might try Brussels sprouts too, because we like those.
Yummo. Okay, so that's what's happening on the lower end of Little Acorn Farm. I'm gonna take a walk up top and show you some of the potted vegetables and plants that we have up there. Show you the progress up there. Come on, let's go. So this tomato plant has just astounded me. You've seen the ones down below that were large, but that tomato plant right there, again, is about 7 feet tall. Beth, go stand next to it so people get a perspective of what that looks like. I am just truly, truly amazed.
Isn't that funny?
Look how big that is. Now, Beth is 6 foot, so you can... And this is our little engine that could. You remember how sickly it was back in the last videos? Well, guess what? It's producing big boy tomatoes. We're a tomato eating family. Our blackberry plants, they're healthy. They're just not producing any blackberries. I think we got 2. Oh, Beth, let me see today's harvest. Let me see what Beth has in the basket today.
Well, I gotta remove these because these are not going in.
Oh. So we've got Roma tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, long beans, what's getting to be the last of the cucumbers, and some eggplant. What do you think, Bent?
Okay.
No?
Hey, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't know. So I think our blackberries are probably going to be a next year thing, but that's okay. I mean, they look healthy and they look strong. Our roses, which I'm starting to really have an affinity for roses. I really am. Look at the blooms on these roses. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. We worried about this one a little bit, but look how pretty that is. That is just beautiful. And there are a lot more buds on them as well. So I think as this weather starts to cool down a little bit, we're starting to see some more production out of our plants. So I think as the weather has started to cool down, we're seeing some additional production out of our plants, which I'm really happy about. Again, we're coming to the end on some things. The one thing I guess I would suggest is, and I'm heading up the stairs, is to make notes. I have a calendar and I made notes that when things are starting to come to the end of their cycle, when they started to produce, so that I know next year and I'm not sitting there with this anticipation of, well, what's going on, what's going to happen. And if you do a first time garden, I'm sure that those same thoughts are going to enter your mind and you're going to think that you're behind or that you've done something wrong. Well, you haven't. You know, it's just the way it grows. And when you take notes your second year, you'll know what to expect and you'll know what to do. And when you get insects like we do, we'll know what to look for. But we're moving into the fall planting season. We're selecting the things that we want to do. You heard Beth talk about some of the plants that we want to put in. I've got some building to do. There will be yet another expansion of Little Acorn Farm next year. Down on the hill, probably 4 more beds maybe, but we'll see. So again, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. It was learning for us. We've had gardens, but not this large, not that big a variety. I believe it to be a success. Beth does too. We've enjoyed it. We've given some things away to our friends as well. I think we're truly blessed to be able to have the space to be able to grow a lot of our own foods. And a lot of the times it's, what do we want for dinner? And we do the cooking with the Frisbees, which you need to look that up on YouTube as well, which is where this derived from. And we'll cook our protein or whatever it is and then say, well, what do you want with it? And really it's just a salad or it's eggplant. We grill some eggplant that comes out of Little Acorn Farm. I'm sure this weekend there'll be some jalapeno poppers since we've harvested those as well. So again, guys, we enjoy it. It can be a lot of work, not too much. I mean, there's regular maintenance. Make sure that you're watering and you're paying attention. And I don't think it's complicated to be able to grow your own food. So thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time.